Good morning, second graders. Today we are on page 55 of our student journal, and our objective or our goal for the day is that it says today, I moved my book. Today I will use the, and then we're going to fill in greater than or less than symbol, that's a B, I'm sorry, symbol to compare numbers. Okay, so let's read that together. Today I will use the greater than or less than symbol to compare numbers. So let's look at our vocabulary. What are these symbols? Okay, so what we see here is we see that our greater than symbol, this is what it looks like. It's called a greater than symbol, and it means more value than. So the example they give us is 215 is greater than 212. This number is larger, it has more value, it's more. Okay, this is called the less than symbol, less value than. So 212 is less than 215. Now, a couple of things that I always remember about these symbols is one, this one kind of looks like an L. So if I have an L, it looks like this. So this one kind of looks like my sideways L. So I remember that that means less than. This one would be a completely backwards L. But this one, if I look really closely, I could maybe write the word less after it. So I remember that that's my less than symbol. I also remember that the alligator, think of this alligator mouth. Okay, it's gonna grab the bigger one. So the alligator mouth is going to grab the bigger one. Sometimes I also think about if these were money, which one is your hand going to grab? If you had to grab $212 or $215, which one are you gonna grab? So think about the alligator mouth grabbing a larger one, or think about your hand grabbing the greatest amount of money. Okay, then they tell us some other words. So it says other words that you might see is going to be more or most or greatest or least. Okay, so we're going to remember our symbols and what they mean, greater than and less than. Okay, let's look at our steps. So our first step today says we're going to write the numbers and model each number with base 10 blocks. Okay, those base 10 blocks are our pictures that we represent stuff. So let's kind of draw those down here to remind us. So this is called a 100 square, and it's worth 100. It's called a 100 square. Now then we draw kind of just a line, which is called our 10 rod, and that represents 10. And 10 of these is worth one of these. And then we draw a dot to represent 1 unit. So this is how we draw our base 10 blocks. Now when you see them drawn in the book, they'll often be more detailed, but this is how we draw them quickly. So this is called our 100 square, our 10 rod, and our 1 unit. Okay, so they want us to, says write the numbers and model each with base 10 blocks. So we're going to use those pictures to draw them. Then this is important. We're going to compare the hundreds, compare the tens, and compare the ones. You have to do this order. So you have to make sure you do hundreds, tens, and ones. It must go in that order. Okay, and then you're going to decide which symbol to use. Okay, so boys and girls, I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to grab my red pen if you want to set down your pencil and watch. Here is my first problem. Okay, my first problem looks like this. It says, write the numbers 132 and 142 and model each number with base 10 blocks. Okay, so my first number is 132, and then I have 142. Okay, so what do those look like if I model them and draw them? Well, I kind of want to remember my place value. So I remember this, my ones place value, my tens, and my hundreds. My ones, tens, and hundreds. So this means that I have 100 square. This means I have 3 10 rods. 1, 2, 3. And this means I have 2 1 units. 1, 2. Okay, so this number I have 100 square. I have 4 10 rods. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have 2 1 units. Okay, so now I'm going to compare, and I always start by first looking at my hundreds. So this has 100 and this has 100. Those are the same. So that doesn't tell me which one it has more or which one's greater. So after my hundreds, I go to my tens. This one has 3 10 rods, but this one has 1, 2, 3, 4 10 rods. So this one has more 10 rods. This is larger, which means this whole number is larger. Okay, so that means that that's the one I want to grab. I want to grab the larger one, so I'm going to draw this symbol. And that symbol that I drew is called the less than symbol. Because remember, I could write the word less. So this says 132 is less than 142. Okay, let's do another one of those. I'm going to have you watch me do one more before we try some together. Okay, here is my next one. And it says, write the numbers 165 and 167 and model each number with base 10 blocks. Okay, so let's write 165, 167. Okay, and I like to remember that's my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. My ones, tens, and hundreds. That helps me remember what place value they are. Okay, so if I'm going to draw the base 10 blocks, I have 100 square. I have 6 10 rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I have 5 1 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this number, I have 100 square. 6 10 rods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have 7 1 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now my next step is to start comparing, and I always compare hundreds first, then tens and ones. Okay, so let's look. 100 square, 100 square. That doesn't help me. I don't know which one's larger. So let's go to my tens. I have 6 10 rods and I have 6 10 rods. They're the same, so that doesn't help me either. Let's go to our ones. I have 5 1 units and 7 1 units. So since this one is larger, that means this whole number is larger, which means I'm going to grab that number. So let's grab it. And what symbol is that? Because I can write less, that's called my less than symbol again. Okay, so what does my sentence say? 165 is less than 167. Okay, boys and girls, let's try some of these together. Let's try some of them together. Okay, our first one looks like this. We have 231 and 251, and I'm on page 56. Okay, so let's draw first. Okay, I like to know what place value they are, remember? So that's my ones, tens, and hundreds. And that's my ones, tens, and hundreds. I had to write it kind of small there. Okay, so what do I know here? I know I have 2 hundreds. So let's draw 200 squares. And we have 3 10 rods. So 1, 2, 3. And we have 1 1 unit. Okay, over here, what do we have? We have 200 squares. We have 5 10 rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have 1 1 unit. Okay, so now we drew them. So now our next step is we're going to start comparing. And we always compare hundreds first, then tens, then ones. So let's look at our hundreds. I have 200 squares and 200 squares. That doesn't help us at all. So let's look at our 10 rods. I have 3 10 rods, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10 rods. So this one has more 10 rods, which means that whole number's larger. So if that's the larger number, that's the number we're going to grab. So let's grab the larger number. And that is, again, less. So our sentence says 231 is less than 251. Okay, so boys and girls, let's try one more together. We are still on page 56. Okay, before we get started, let's write our place values on top. So this is my ones place value, my tens, and my hundreds. That's my ones, tens, and hundreds. Okay, so now let's get ready to draw these, our base 10 blocks. So I have 300 squares. 1, 2, 3. I have 1 10 rod. I might do it down here because I'm going to run out of room. And I have 9 1 units. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, here we have 300 squares. 1, 2, 3. Here we have 1 10 rod. And we have 4 1 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now that we drew them, we're ready to start comparing hundreds first, then tens, then ones. So I see 300 squares and 300 squares. That doesn't help me. I see 1 10 rod and 1 10 rod. That still doesn't help me. I see 9 1 units and 4 1 units. That one's larger, which means that whole number's larger, which means that's the side I'm going to grab. Okay, notice, friends, I can't write less than here. This isn't a less than symbol. This is called a greater than symbol. So I can read 319 is greater than 314. Okay, boys and girls, you're going to be working on the next few pages on your own. Have a great day.